Good.
Yes, good evening. How are you, sir? How are you, all of you? Sorry, you all waiting. There are too many telephone calls, something or other coming and coming.
No problem, sir. Good
Yes.
evening and good evening.
Good
It's
evening.
your सानिध्य is the word. सानिध्य is the Hindi word. आपका सानिध्य प्राप्त होना ही it's more than enough for us. Looking you and talking to you always gives some positive energy to all the home buyers. So, sir,
That's
before we get into the questions, there is a thought which has been propped up by the group buyers. They wanted to know, how is your way towards achieving those resolutions is going so far as bank fundings are concerned and Swami fundings are concerned, because everything is in pipeline. So, how do you see that situation building up in near future?
Now, let me go one by one. Swami funding was kept in suspense only because we had to get the registration of the company done. Now, they told you all those formalities are over when you came here. And by this weekend, we are having a meeting to wind up the final stage. Namely, I have to sign a document with them. Once I sign a document, I think the money will start coming in. What is really happening is, each one of these banks, or they have their own law firms, the way of drafting documents, with which I did not have agreement. So it has to go back once, twice, thrice. So that's why time has been consumed in the process. So what we have finally done is, my own thoughts have been reduced to writing, and they will have a final round of discussions, and hopefully immediately after 4th, I want to give a report to the court on 4th itself, if possible. If not before 11th, I think the funds will start flowing. That's how it stands. There's no difficulty at all. I got a telephone call from the Joint Secretary Expenditure, Mr. Rajaraman, and asking me what is the progress. Even they are very keen that it should go ahead. So there is no difficulty about Swami Fund at all. Only, there's too much of bureaucratic formalities that are taking time.
All right.
And if it had been left to myself, I would have drafted the agreement, etc., long ago and finished it off. Okay. Anyway, that's history. The second is bank funding. Don't see, it's again because some old school of thought is there in every bank. And it's very difficult for them to come out of it. But we have made, I should say, more than 60 to 70% of progress in bank funding. 2-3 banks would be again having a final round of discussions on how to draft an agreement with them and what kind of securities, etc. All the details which a bank funding would require. We are sorting them out, in every minute detail. And I hope to give a report to the court by the 11th of January, the next date of hearing on bank funding. And I want to finalize all this bank funding issue before the end of this month, January. So that we want to have also a clear financial planning for the next 2 years, primarily based on the bank funding, etc. Suppose for some reason there is some delay, I am still working on some other alternative reserve fund proposals which are also in the pipeline. So don't worry about all that. Things are moving at some good speed. Okay. Have you heard me?
Yeah, I'm so sorry, sir. There was a call drop from my end, and my apologies about it. Yeah. So what we are kind of some sort of a closure, possibly in the mid of January. And for banking, I think there should be some closure, in a due course.
It will take a month, Amit. It will easily take a month.
Easily take a month. All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Easily.
So going by this bank, funding, specifically in terms of the home loans to these buyers, we are continuously hearing from these buyers that banks are not ready to sanction the first time loaners. I mean, somebody who's looking out for, first time sanction
Fresh loans.
applications, stating
I've received number of mails from home buyers saying my application given for the first time or a fresh loan is not being considered by some banks, but it is not the same story with all the banks. So let me see how we can push the banks further into it. See, I have some strategy. If we are able to quickly have a breakthrough on the project funding, okay, then I can take up the issue of fresh loans a little later, even though there's going to be some delay on that. Because I know a lot of people are anxious that they should not be called a defaulter because they're not able to pay. Let them not worry about that. Where people are entirely dependent on bank loans, all that they require to do is send a mail, we'll keep a record, and then give a consolidated report to the court later. But then unfortunately, Amit, as you know, that many people who are not dependent on loans still do not want to come forward and make a payment. How do we know that who is dependent on loans and who is not? Very difficult, no?
Correct, correct.
People volunteer with such information.
Yes, that is something we also discussed in our Saturday meeting, wherein we had extensively spoken about this part. So just for the benefit of home buyers, let me is my voice audible, Sunil?
Pardon?
Yes, we can hear you. Yes.
Okay. I'm so sorry, sir. There is some sort of a technical issue at my end, so my sincere apologies towards this
Good. Yeah.
disconnect.
Yeah.
So I was saying, we have extensively spoken about this particular payment analysis part, in our Saturday meeting also. So just for the benefit of buyers, let me frame this situation, and then probably you can help us in terms of addressing to those section of buyers. Now in
Okay.
Centurion, perhaps if we look at the total collection which was anticipated, it was somewhere around 100 crores, in terms of these installments, because in high rise there are two installments have been passed, and in low rise flats perhaps three installments has been given. So far as low rise is concerned, the approximate idea of collecting the money was somewhere around 10 crores,
Right.
wherein they have given some 9.5 crores. So they
Right.
are quite okay with that. O2LE out of 16, they have given 6 crores. Terrace
Yes.
homes out of 42, they have given 37 crores.
Right.
Tropical out of 28, they have given 7.9 crores. The
Right.
only difficulty with these tropical buyers are that this is that they are not giving the money in terms of what the schedule says. Now
I
there
know.
is a section of buyers, because a buyer has both sections. Somebody who is happy giving, somebody who's adamant, somebody who does not want to give money, somebody is seeking refund. There is all section of buyers, which is creating a sort of an atmosphere which is more of a confused one. So I was, and everybody, and perhaps you was also anticipating that after these two installments, we would be in a position to know how the collection method is working, because collection milestone is something which is very crucial at this juncture. Now, Centurion is running short by 40%, because 61.5 crores, 61 point half something they have deposited. Wherein, if we broadly see to NBCC's requirement, overall in Amrapali, they would require at least of 280 to 300 odd crores per month, wherein the total collection has been 322 crores. So
Yeah.
the question which I we would like to frame, seeking your kind of your answers towards those buyers are, there is a section of buyers who is happy giving it. They don't have any difficulty because collection is going in that model. There is another section of buyer who is very adamant, or perhaps ignorant, with the fact that they need to pay. There are a lot many buyers who are now coming up in the group and saying that we are not aware. How do we want to pay? How can I pay? My only amount is left as the possession amount. I'm only referring to the Centurion group. Now, the buyer who have paid, or perhaps being paying, there is an uncertainty in their mind that, let's say Amit Gupta has not paid that installment, and he is now saying that I have no idea because there is no penalty levied on my late payment, and court receiver or court perhaps has not said anything about late payments and all. So the question which comes up or props up to our mind is, these plans that we have worked out, that perhaps we have of the home buyers, are you going to give it a relook towards those plans to make it more aggressive in nature? That is one part of it. And the second part is those who are adamant, because this behavioral pattern is something which is discouraging the entire resolution, because if they are not aware, I mean, the case has been running so long. So if somebody comes up in group and says that, my 10% is left, and despite your all advisories in your website and everything, the adamant nature is coming up. So how are you going to deal with those buyers?
You are asking me a very difficult question, but let me try to answer it, right? We have been trying to analyze the flow pattern of payment by home buyers. And one thing I've noticed, you are right, that there are certain sections of people who probably would not still like to fall in line and reap the benefits in time. I've seen that. There are a good section of people. There are only two ways. Either I tell the court, here is the number of people, strike them off, give them a holiday from all these issues and let them exit and convert them, all those units, into unsold units. Simple answer, very simple answer. But, when we decided to start the construction of all the projects between the months of March to roughly August, September, one after another, we thought we should start. Now, the road ahead regarding bank funding, the road ahead regarding sale of assets, etc., were still being mapped out. Right? We are still working out a strategy. You know it all. Court orders have been talking about it. My own personal view was I wanted to give a little more long rope for a month or two maximum, right? When I will know that whether or not somebody pays, suppose 10% of people are not going to pay at all, do whatever you would like to do, right? I should not keep the construction on hold merely because there is some uncertainty about these people. So I thought we'll give them a long rope, maybe till end of January or so. Meanwhile, we would have known about our complete financial position. Once I am clear about that, then I can take the next step in regard to those defaulters with a clear, let's say, iron hand. Suppose I do it today. From your point of view, you find those who are, abiding by the directions of the court or wish to follow a certain discipline, you may certainly have feeling, why should I do it now when others are sitting pretty at home? So from my money, let us say, everything is being done. That thought, I want that to go away as early as possible. So that when the construction continues on, not only with the help of home buyers payment, but with the other monies, then slowly I would be in a position to convert them if possible. And if thereafter nobody is willing to be converted, then we'll give them a holiday, a complete exit. That's what I've been personally thinking about. Whether I'm right or wrong, I do not know. But I still want to wait for a month more and then thereafter bring it to the notice of the court, saying what the steps have been taken so far and what kind of people are involved in not making any payment or part payments and what are their problems. If there are some genuine problems, then we should solve them. If there are no problems at all, then they should exit. So it can't hang on for a long time. That is the picture I would like to give to the court maybe by the end of this coming January. So I would not like to go back on that right now. I know there are just people are basking in the sun, just waiting for some good things to happen, which should not happen at all. On the other hand, I've also seen in some projects where they estimate, let's say I thought every month you will get 1 or 2 crores from each project. In some projects, we got more than 5 crores, 10 crores in a month. So it all depends on people's, confidence and their willingness to continue. And I hope, let us take a final call on all this by January.
All right. So
let us allow this month to go. Let it allow like this. And for some new projects, I also think in the course of a coming couple of weeks, I want to draw a separate payment schedule for each project separately. Once you're going to revise the plan, work schedule, then for each, for some project may remain as 15 installments. For some project, try to shorten it for 4 or 5. So once the bank fund, the loans also start coming. The bank loans have started coming in a good measure. They started coming in roughly from end of October or November, early November on. So by now we have received not more than about 10 to 12 crores of bank loans for individual home buyers. And I find the pattern in some projects, it's coming up fairly well. I'm not able to analyze it, why it is so. Maybe it depends upon the bank's concern. I have no idea at all. Some banks are working very fast. So some banks are very slow. It all depends. So all these things I wanted to have a final view in the month of January and then reschedule, rework all the programs of payments. That's how I'd like to look at it like that.
I mean, this make more sense in terms of giving us a clarity in the, to those buyers who are taking this opportunity as for granted opportunity and not being disciplined about it.
Correct, but I would probably put in on the website and also communicate with many of you that this is a thought process now which is on, and only for one final chance for people to fall in line, this is happening. Otherwise, you will find this happening very soon. I can probably share this idea in some form or the other so that people begin to sense that in the month of January, something else will happen.
Correct. In fact, on that day when we were discussing about this, Mr. Garg asked me, no, we have given a grace period of 3 months post cancellation. I told him that it has not been yet said, or disclosed by receiver's office. So he was also a bit surprised that we had put up this clause. Anyways, I mean, your vision seems more practical in nature. So, sir, coming back to another, very hot subject, which most of tropical buyers are concerned about it, and I'm sure in other projects also these buyers are more, concerned about this particular subject of subvention, because the status quo maintained by bank still remains the same despite the 29th order in place, wherein they were supposed to come back to the court. These buyers are feeling feeling a little more unrest in terms of depositing the payment, because they do want to deposit their payment, but the problem with them is that huge interest levied upon them. Banks are not ready to settle the score with them, perhaps not giving them any loan further. NPA is falling into that category. So how do you wish to take this this particular problem to a logical end?
I wanted to push the banks as much as possible into a certain position. Okay. Now, some banks have come with certain clarity, some banks have not. But one common stand taken by all of them is, sir, we cannot convert NPAs and this kind of issues into a profitable, funding venture all over again. I think in one sense they are right. From a purely banking point of view, they are right. You can't say that you are wrong in the past and you colluded with Amrapali and therefore you must do something very beautiful now. You can't convert business into, compassion and all that. At some, it's very difficult to do that. So, but on the other hand, my own understanding of the bench now, right? So if it is Justice Mishra had been there, and it would have been probably a little different. My own understanding of the bench is also, I think, a little slow. In a sense, Justice Bhushan is yet to get a grip of what one can do on the bench. I hope in another couple of hearings, once he gets that heat, see, in one or two hearings when I took up this bank issue or subvention issue, as Bhushan said, how far we can get into banks doing something else.
Correct.
So unless I'm able to mold their mind, so it requires a molding of their mind. So that's what I'm slowly trying to do. It may appear to be taking too much of a time, but I think I'll be able to do it. Just wait. Let me complete this bank funding issue, then I'll be free for many of the other issues.
So can we expect something to happen maybe in February in subvention?
Yeah. Before February, the middle of January itself, I want to bring up the subvention issue to the court.
All right. And sir, there is one more concern, which is why these buyers are always asking this question, because we were highly depending upon the asset sale of Amrapali, and since MSCC is again not been able to do anything substantially. How do you see this development, going on, and how do you see this?
It's a concern, Amit, in the sense that whatever DRT was doing did not work. Why it did not work? There were a number of reasons. right? So we try to analyze those reasons one after another in respect of each and every property. So, and then when MSCC came in, I thought I had least idea of the real dynamics behind the sale of these properties. But after working with MSCC for some time, I think you can't adopt a mechanical approach. So we decided to go property after property and then calling people for negotiation, sitting with them and talking to them. I think it is working slowly. So before 11th, we would have sold at least 2-3 properties in Noida and Udaipur or whatever it is. We are selling those properties. But I am looking at a picture where it can happen differently. Now, because of COVID, there is a lot of arrest on the movement of the sale of properties issue. Lot of arrest. People who showed interest now are not showing interest. People who could have, for instance, in the first round MSCC, people who had registered then have not registered in the second round. So it's not doesn't seem to be a very simple phenomenon. Mm-hmm. So I have now started, talking and writing, reaching out to the local development authorities, the government's concerned. I hope to set up a mechanism in place again before February or so that in coordination with the MSCC would be in a position to sell the properties one after another. So I don't mind, involving any one of you in some of the, working on the ideas. There's no difficulty at all. But another thing of concern for me, I'll tell you about this, the Indore set of properties. Properties in Indore are in 4 or 5 places. Now, there is no magic way by selling all these properties. One reason we found out was that, for instance, Prime Minister or somebody else have a lot of foothold locally. So whatever you do, right, properties will not be sold. So unless you break the chain, right, advertisement, do anything you want, it won't be sold. So I am in the process of involving the local authorities and some government, agencies in breaking the chain. So, all these things is taking a lot of time, right? Unless if I am confident that in the month of January or February, local governments will be in a position to give me some support, of which I am going to talk to the court in a couple of hearings, we can see some progress, right? And certain other properties we don't want to sell now. For instance, the properties in Chhattisgarh, New Raipur, or some chunk even in Indore, we don't want to sell now. We would like to pledge them with the banks, as a security, and after a year or two sell them. So therefore, the bank funding, selling, everything is interlinked.
All right.
Right?
Makes sense.
So we could have decided to sell all the properties, convert them, but we would have got probably only 2/3 of the value. Then even Amit would have said the receiver has sold them for a lesser value. I don't want to hear that. Okay. I'm just at a lighter vein, not that we are going to do that, but that's a problem we are facing. So I thought instead of selling them now, convert them as banking securities, get loans and sell them after a year. We have no problem.
All right.
So I've discussed it with 1 or 2 banks and I think they're also okay with that. So they will welcome some, hard security available to them for a funding instead of mere Supreme Court orders, on paper. So all these things are being worked out.
I understand that. So it will take some time to settle this particular
But if the bank funding issues are settled, this issue also will be answered.
So what you are precisely saying is bank funding is the pivot wherein everything is rotating. Once this pivot is stopped, every problem is going to, the spinning around will stop.
They will find their appropriate places. Right.
Correct. So, sir, coming back to a very key point, though we have discussed
on a bleak proposition. So bank funding does not come to the extent we want, suppose. So then we have an alternate plan B for aggressively selling these properties.
All right, sir. So there is another key point which, though we have discussed on Saturday also, I've been, there is another kind of a, I would not say unrest, but it's more of a, dissatisfaction between buyers on a particular subject, which is construction update. So though we had spoken, on Saturday also, what buyers are looking at it is two things. First, in your website, there should be some sort of a mechanism to upload the pictures or construction update, possibly the tower wise breakup if possible, so that they could have a fair glimpse of how construction is progressing. And second, there are lot many buyers, who would want to come to their site, because the environment currently being been looked upon is a very positive in terms of NBCC doing doing construction, the marketing been done by various buyers in terms of their positive feedbacks. So they want to come to the buyers, but since the contractor has put a sanction on it, and every time the buyer is going to the site, they are feeling a little disappointed because they've not been allowed. Though we had spoken, I would request you to
Today,
kindly share some sort of information
today,
in terms of what you had told to me on that day.
so the incumbent in place of Mr. Agarwal, Mr. Swami, who was on leave and gone away, came back. So today morning, on my suggestion, he has asked all the project in charge to permit home buyers to come and visit the projects without any let or impediment. You can go, right? Instructions have been given. And I said, if you want to streamline it, the contractors can keep a register. People can enter their names so that we don't know whether somebody has a problem about strangers coming and walking in, etc. So I said, at least for the next 1 week, please allow people whenever they want to come. And thereafter on Saturdays.
All right. Yes, you said the same thing
So
on,
this
on
instruction, it has been forwarded to all the project in charge today afternoon. So tomorrow when my office comes, I'll put it on my website.
that would be wonderful, because these buyers would be fairly relieved in terms of going to these the project sites and all, and they would be more than happy to look into it. Sir, one another question which is coming out from the buyers group in majority in toto about all the projects, people of representatives of these projects have been continuously discussing. There are certain set of properties, or the flats completed by NBCC which is to be put to sale, or to perhaps the court has also accepted a proposal of NBCC putting their inventories put to a sale, because these buyers in the projects, their relatives are more curious and keen to buy those properties. But since in absence of any such mechanism developed, they are fairly looking to here and there in terms of gathering information. So can you share some information? How
We
soon
are
we can expect these
working
office to set up?
by next week. NBCC will put up a final proposal stage wise, right? Which project, which units, what kind of procedures, everything is getting finalized. Once I approve it, then they will come back to me. We'll upload it. I think it will just take a week's time.
Right. So while you do that, please also can you request from the buyer's perspective that they should make a brochure, because the brochure which we have, it's a fairly a kind of a old one,
No,
nothing
no.
mentioning in terms
I
of
have
what we are
asked,
doing.
I've asked NBCC to print new brochures for all the projects.
Yes, so that would make more easy. The
And
accessibility of information would be easy for these buyers, the existing and the new one.
and one more thing which we have also decided, I told it will be a good thing to do. Probably by February or so, in each project, NBCC will complete one model unit, one model apartment,
Okay.
like a showcase apartment.
Sample
Okay.
flat, we say it.
Yeah, that I think by February they will be able to do it in all the projects, so that people can come and see that that's how their house will look at the end of completion. And that will also be showcased for the purpose of selling. So they are working on that. So I think in Leisure Valley or Leisure Park, they have completed, they have prepared one unit as a model unit. I'm going to visit it in a couple of days' time. If you're satisfied, then I'll ask them to go ahead with that.
All right. And the office which they are planning to set up, the sales office, is it also going to be in Leisure Park? Mr. Agarwal told me that it is going to be in Leisure Park. So is there any
Hopefully,
change in that?
hopefully, no. Hopefully they will do it there. Because in Princely Estate, they will hand it over to the receiver's office and some other staff. They will shift.
All right. Sir, there is another key question which has been asked by couple of projects, because these in Amrapali, in Centurion there is a low-rise flat, and in Dream Valley there is a villa. Obviously, the villa is also there in Leisure Valley. So these buyers are continuously asking a simple question, that their handover, the project completion, or the flats are to be given by this year. So if in case there is a delay, is there any anticipation in terms of how what would be the delay period if it is to be there? And
Right.
second, if it has been completed, who is going to take care of the security aspects of it in terms of, let's say, if villa is completed in Dream Valley, who is going to take care of the security aspect?
I have not seriously applied my mind to the aspect, right? But I don't think there's going to be a delay. Delay need not bother us today. But security aspect, I have not really applied my mind to it. I thought it is still some more time to go. We'll certainly think about it in due course, right? Keep it in mind. Maybe in a month or two we'll revisit that issue
Mm-hmm.
and then plan in advance so that we
Okay.
are not caught unawares and right.
Right. So
We'll,
there is one buyer in my group who also used to be a buyer of Heartbeat City. Now, when we were talking about, in August when the order was there in Swami, everybody was aware in a in a way that they were knowing that Heartbeat was also the part of a Swami funding. So, is Swami funding also including Heartbeat now, or do you
yeah.
want to take this or to touch this issue slightly later?
No, as of now, I don't want to touch it. As I told you, if I know that we are comfortable with the other banks coming in, right, then we will rework it. As of now, I don't want to create any complications.
All right. Sir, there is last question from my end, which is creating more anxiety in buyers in terms of what option you have given. You have perhaps given a swapping option to buyers in the website also, and lot many buyer who pay. So we
At
were
all, not
talking about this particular aspect of this home buyers issue of swapping. So is there any proposal towards your office being looked upon in terms of how do you want to do or handle this swapping issue?
see, we have collected about, I think, roughly 300 applications for swapping.
Mm-hmm.
We have analyzed them, and I want to give a report to the court on the 11th or so,
Mm-hmm.
and seek the permission of the court on a certain basis. We want to work out certain norms or a criteria. If the court approves them, then we'll start working on that.
All right. So that
It's
is that
almost
that that is for
we
swapping. All right, sir. There is a buyer in my group who is also a buyer of silicon, and silicon is going for validation verification. And I think first phase he belongs to first phase. He is asking, the court has asked us for registration, and I am yet to be validated and verified. And after there is some order of I think Gautam Buddha Nagar magistrate wherein they have said there is some sort of a area certification or a flat certification area is to be required. So could you help us to understand what exactly is this particular
I, I
part?
I don't know anything of this sort. Area certification, I have no idea at all.
Because what he
Because
is saying is that Gautam Buddha Nagar has advised or directed Noida authority to certify the flat first before registration. Some super area or there is a change in super area
no,
concept something.
that's a different issue. It's because you remember the question as to what should be the stamp duty. I
Uh-huh.
had before the court at some point of time, and the Noida authority, I think, has now decided that instead of those three categories, super area, saleable area, carpet area, etc., they have taken a decision.
Uh-huh.
So when, in fact, my own suggestion was, which has partly been agreed to by the authority, is that you can only quantify the saleable area, right? Don't go by all this fanciful super area nonsense,
Uh-huh.
which is really a nonsense, right? So I think they have taken a decision on that. So if that is so, there's not a problem at all. That's what really I wanted to push through. But Silicon City will have to wait because only 3 days ago, when you came, I think the
Yeah.
registrar so I had a talk with them again. So probably from 10th onwards, we'll start on a very minor level. I want to test it, how it really happens, registration. Then
Uh-huh.
I don't want to become a calamity again, large number of people waiting, social distance is that. Then the receiver will be hauled up before the Home Minister. I don't want that to happen. So but we want to finish the registration process also as early as possible. Okay.
Okay. Sir, there is, I mean, before we end up, there is something which I wanted to discuss. We haven't discussed the last meeting. In O2 Valley, we have collected some data in terms of the data which has been shared in customer data of your website. Perhaps has the number of people who have kind of registered their flat or booked their flat, but their emails and phone numbers were not there. So we had a look, raw look into the website, and we could only spot some 30-40 buyers registered in terms of their putting their phone numbers and emails. So there is something positive which has happened in our group is we have been able to touch upon somewhere around 350 to 400 odd buyers,
That's very
and we
good.
have prepared a list of these buyers along with their phone numbers and email IDs. Though we have sent them a communication to go to the website and upload their data to be able to get more access to information. Perhaps your office want to send some information, they can easily get that through phone numbers and email IDs. But still, they are not taking it either seriously
You
or not doing it. So what I plan to do is I wish to submit that data to Shri or to Harinder, so that
please
they can,
please
so
send it.
that once the communication starts, at least those 300-400 will perhaps create more impact, and people will get more and more connected towards
Sure,
it.
sure. Please
and
send it. Please send it.
and the same is happening with lot many projects. I mean, there is a list of buyers who have not submitted their details in customer data. So
Can we do
if
it with the people whom we have been now able to get in touch with? We
Yeah,
can have a quick round of video conference with as many people as possible,
all right, no problem.
right?
No, in today's meeting, there are lot many O2 Valley buyers, and perhaps this is a meeting recorded by us. So I think this one we'll share this link. They will be accessible, and if that communication will be putting into the you will put into the website. I think any communication which is going from your office, they should be able to reach it. So we have been able
Very
to
well.
do it, and on from buyers perspective, we suggest if you can rope in various RWAs in various projects to do some sort of this
Can
exercise to get connected
can
with these buyers.
can we do one thing? We
Yeah.
will have a common RWA meeting
Uh-huh.
with all RWAs. Greater Noida once and the Noida separately.
Yes.
Okay. So whichever way you want to organize it, you tell me. We'll organize it and then start moving. Right?
No, I suggest there are not many numbers. Even if two people from an RWR or perhaps AOA can come, it could have just have a one-to-one meeting, or together, kind of a town hall meeting in your office just for a few hours. And I think if they can be taken into confidence, lot many of your problems will resolve in terms of reaching out to those buyers who are not who are not been registered digitally.
Okay.
Because what we've been talking to Shri and to Harinder is the difficult time with these buyers getting digitally enrolled in the website. So if these
Where
RWAs can open some sort of a window in their projects for, let's say, couple of hours weekly, they should be able to get hold of these buyers.
Okay.
Your
Let's
office opening a window,
let
doing it manually, these RWA can open a window.
okay. Let's schedule the first meeting on 9th.
9th. So you want to send them a mail, or should I reach out to them?
First, you try to reach out. We'll also send out a mail.
Okay.
I'll talk to Shivaraman tomorrow and Harinder and see, and then please call me tomorrow evening. Then we'll work out how the work thing can be organized.
And NBCC has the detail of all the RWAs, by the way. So that
No,
that so
I know it.
that so
I know it.
any communication from your office will perhaps be accessible to them. So that
I
no
will do it.
difficulty in them.
Call
So
me
Sunil,
tomorrow by this time. We will work it out.
yeah, Sunil, I am done with my set of questions. If you have anything to put up, please do go ahead.
If people don't have questions which are repetitive, I would welcome.
Yeah.
If there's something, if there are some people have come here just sitting in front of me with some
Yes,
serious
sure.
problems.
Namaskar, sir. Can
Namaskar.
I ask a question? This is Akshay speaking from B5 Terrace Homes, if you please allow.
Yeah, Akshay, please go ahead.
Thank you so very much. First of all, a big thank you to you, Venkataramani ji and Mr. Amit Gupta, for your contribution to the cause. Wanted to say that you are in our prayers to actually make this dream come true. I would like to ask you a question, which is a thread which I'm picking up from our last conference, which we had about 3-4 months back. I remember you had mentioned that there was a parallel corpus that you are planning to prepare in addition to the funding from, the banks and SBI Capital, plus the contribution from the home buyers. Can we have some insight about that parallel corpus, and where does terrace homes, high
When,
rise,
one minute.
high rise figure in that?
When I said parallel corpus, I could not have got money from some unknown sources. No, it has to come from known sources.
Of
Okay,
course.
right. So the sources can be again only through accountable sources. Number one, number two. And then why would I have done some exercise? All kinds of people have approached us. There are private banks, private funding agencies. So many sources have come and approached us. We have said no to many of them for a number of reasons. So, but ultimately, I think it's important that we fall back on PSU banks and certain other agencies. So that's what I call the reserve fund or the parallel fund idea. We mooted long time ago. So nothing else can remain now. So let's not have any other ideas on that. I am sure that the funding through banks will be happening. That's all I am looking upon now. I don't want to look to any other sources for the time being. Again, to say for a number of reasons. I
And
don't
about
want to say anything beyond this now.
all right, fair enough. I think I'm good. I'm done. Thank you.
Anil, if somebody is lined up, it's okay. Else, I have two last questions for sir before we let him go. So if is there anyone lined up?
No, Amitji. Yeah, please go
Okay.
ahead.
So, sir,
Yeah.
I'll have just two questions which I've got in my phone right now. So there is a buyer. I don't know how should I frame this question. There is a buyer from a Chatterjee group. There is another a refund group initiated by Chatterjee. Now this buyer is asking. Bikram has said that somebody who is sending an email for refund to receiver must not deposit any fee because he is seeking any deposit, any installment because he is seeking refund. So that she is asking me a very pertinent question. He has not deposited anything, and he is confused in a way that whether he should fall in line with the thought process of not to deposit seeking a refund, or is it something wherein court has given some sort of an accommodation towards this thought.
No, nobody has given any accommodation. If you're not paying, then you are taking a risk. That's about all.
Yeah, so he's asking this question because in first phase we have discussed about you've been cautious with them and you've been taking them with iron hand. So he's saying if I will be taken in a same category because he's seeking refund and he's not depositing anything.
If he is seeking refund, then let it be very clear. Let him not make any payment. But people cannot say I will sit on the wall and decide when I can make a payment and then when I will seek a refund. You can't do that, because at some point of time I am going to tell the court that those people who are taking refund will be now called, their allotments will be treated as unallotted, and their units will be sold, and as and when you get money out of the sale, we'll pay them their money back. So we can't keep it as unallotted for long.
So this refund initiative taken by Vikram is not any accommodation so far as you or so court is concerned, right?
No.
That makes sense, sir. So that's it from me, sir. We kind of grateful to you coming here, and we
Yeah.
will have some more
One question.
some more
Sure.
kind of a meeting with RWA to be able to
Sure.
put your concerns to them and to help you in terms of building
Sure.
a rapport with your office too.
Very well.
Amitji, last question. Last question we can take from Madhurima Sharma ji. Just last question.
Yeah, hi, good evening, sir. So, sir, I'm son of Mrs. Madhurima Sharma. She is a owner of Centurian Park, low rise. this house in September 2015, and it was from our own funds that we received after selling one of our property. So in this case, what happened was we made the payment to the Amrapali, that is 80% of the amount, and rest of the 20% of the amount we opened the capital gain account in State Bank of India in June 2016. Since then, the case has started, and we did not paid any amount because nobody was there to ask for the amount. And the 3 years window that we have with capital gain account that got passed. Now we are approaching SBI to release our money so that we can make the rest of the payments. Now SBI is not very positive, and they haven't given us any solution because the 3 years have already passed. That's what they have said. So we need your suggestion, sir. How should we go about it? Because the limitation that we are facing is that 3 years window has passed, though the amount is there and we are ready to pay.
The money is lying with SBI.
Yes, sir.
How can you say that money will not be given back to you?
So the issue that they told us was, since capital gain allow only 3 years window to complete the transaction, selling the old property and buying the new property.
That is in normal circumstances.
Right, sir.
Right?
Right, sir.
So it is an abnormal circumstance. I think I better you move an application to Supreme Court and it will be allowed.
Sure, sir. So, sir, can we give this application through your channel or?
No.
Let me come in here. Let me come in here. So
Sure.
this question is something which is to be handled by a proper lawyer to be able to tell to the court that SBI has freezed my account, the capital gain account, which is to be given to this particular project because the litigation was on they have freezed it. Now you seek a remedy from court because the matter has been handled by court. If you want my help, you can call me in a separate window or perhaps tomorrow, and you can file the intervention application for this. I can guide you through this. That should not be a difficulty. But this problem, I don't think the sir would be able to to enter into it, because if he'll go with this sort of issues, then he would have 40,000 issues to handle, and the core issues will be floating, and wandering here and there. So I don't think he should be able to step into this problem as of now.
I already have such thousands of issues.
I understand that. Thank you so much for coming,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
for
much. We
listening.
appreciate your time, sir.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Call
you.
me
Good.
tomorrow evening, Amit.
Wish you a very happy New Year as well.
Right.
Thank you. Wish you a very happy New Year, sir.
For all of you.
Thank you,
Yes.
sir.
You
Thank
take good
you.
care and be safe.
Bye. Happy New Year.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hello.
Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you. We'll drop off now. And I will share the recording after taking approval from CR and Amitji. Thank you.